is brought to you by Astro, Monster Energy, Corsair, Hacks, GG Bet, and LG Ultra Gear.
Atlanta is the capital of and the most populous city in the United States of Georgia. That's right. It also serves as the 39th most populous city in the United States, and it also serves as the cultural and economic center of the Atlanta metropolitan area, home to 5.8 million people in the 9th largest metropolitan area in the nation. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about Counter-Strike, which has absolutely no bearing on the population of this nation or this city, but more importantly, the population of Twitch chat. I just want to say a hey guys to all of you in this moment and tell you all hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you find yourselves. Thank you for joining us at the DreamHack Atlanta Open. And I can't do that by myself without also introducing the analyst I have here to my left in Dust and Bach. Guys, we've had some interesting turnouts so far today. Kind of what we expected. Dare I say, hell, we predicted it, right?
I mean, you were spot on with even the score. You said it was going to be close. We all predicted that Ghost was going to take it. Same with the first series and Complexity. But you had it like right on the head. We were like, okay, it's probably going to be a close game.
Thank you, Bach. Thank you,
I think
Bach.
it said like 16-12, 16-13. It ends up being 16-12, so spot on.
Spot on will be the name of the game. We're going to take a look at our group here. It's time to continue on Group A. Before we jump into the next matchup, that's going to be eUnited and Luminosity. First, we should probably give you a brief, very brief synopsis of what happened there against Envy.
I mean, Complexity just was the better team, and we kind of saw that coming into the series. Envy's a team that's been struggling in online and any chance they've had to play on land, but I don't even think they have in a long time, at least, since back before they were even Envy, back when it was the old Splice roster, maybe even potentially as Boxer when they got dropped from Splice, which I think is what happened right coming into Pro League relegations at the beginning of this last season. So we kind of saw that coming from a mile away. We knew that Envy was going to struggle, and sure enough, they did.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add there. I mean, like you said, I think the last time they played a LAN was like maybe some small Aces event, I think it was, like when they were Splice. Like
well, they did play, so they played LAN because they had to they got relegated out of Pro League last season.
Okay, that's the other one then, yeah.
So that's the only time I can remember in recent memory, and it was right around that time that Splice dropped the team. It was right when they were coming into the event.
Yikes. Never feels good to get dropped from Team Does It Boys. Rough for those guys, I guess, within the confines of what they had to deal with. But two teams that we're going to talk about now. Yes, there are some, I guess, rumblings about dropping this, that, and the other over the course of time. Roster changes do happen, but it's eUnited and Luminosity, guys.
Yeah, I mean, eUnited is right now in the middle of a transition phase. Even still, Finesse has just come in, and there's still apparently Cooper on the way, and no one really quite knows who he's coming in for. In fact, if you ask players, they actually don't know who he's coming in for.
The real X Factor.
That's the sketchiest part.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're a player on eUnited right now, you actually don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the one that everyone thought was because Relics is the one opting right now in place of Ace, so naturally maybe that would be the one, but does Relics deserve to get cut? I mean, he's kind of put in a tough spot, so I don't know. It's tough.
Well, you know what is tough? 3 reasons why. With Hacks GG. That's right, presented by Hacks GG, and Mr. Bach, take it away, my friend.
3 reasons why both teams need a win. Number 1, disappointing LAN results. The last time that we saw LG really play well on LAN was DreamHack Valencia all the way back in July. Since then, things have not gone that well, if they've even had the opportunity. Looking at eUnited, it's kind of the same thing. They made it into IEM Chicago, and they actually got beaten by this very team and dropped down in 9th, 12th place. eUnited, you know, kind of disappointing end of them. LG didn't go much far after that. They ended up losing the round after. They finished, I think, 7th, 8th place. Number 2, nobody wants to get cut. So we just talked about this with eUnited. No one's really sure who's going to be getting cut and replaced by Cooper. As a result, everyone's kind of playing better because they are fearing for their job. On the opposite end, you have an LG team that might be wanting to make some changes should results not be found here, which is where I think they will be most likely to find success, is a stage such as this. And then moving on to number 3. They need a jump start. Both teams need to get a win right off the bat in order to move into that upper bracket game. You know, I think that if either of these teams is realistically going to beat Complexity at any point during this bracket, or even some of the other teams in their group, they need to start with a strong win, because I can see both teams falling to Envy if they, you know, fall with a disappointing performance here.
And that was 3 reasons, brought to you by Hacks GG. Shout out hacks.gg. Head over there, get some merch, do it right, and make sure it fits just right as well. Kind of like this matchup itself could fit right, or it could be abysmal. And why would that be, Dust?
Well, it'd be abysmal because right now, out of the 7 maps in the map pool, Luminosity has a massive losing streak on 5 of the 7. And then one of the other ones they don't even play. So they basically just, their map pool is really shriveled up. And I know we're about to get into pick bans here soon. And so that's kind of something I wanted to hit on early, is that like outside of maybe Cash and maybe Train, I think Train's probably their best bet. Like, they just don't really have a map pool, and they're also just panicking. We'll talk a little bit more later what I mean by that, as far as how they're setting up, you know, all their roles and stuff. And
should be Dust 2.
There we go, yeah.
Cash. They actually, so eUnited normally permabans Dust 2, so I'm actually surprised to see them let it through. We'll see if they get it on the second run. No. So maybe we'll actually see a Dust 2. Mirage coming out from, yeah, so we're actually going to see them go to Dust 2, which is surprising because if you actually look at the stats in more recent history, eUnited really hasn't played Dust 2 very much. Normally they would permaban Dust 2, LG permabans Nuke, that's not even a surprise. I had them potentially going to Inferno, so the fact that they end up on Dust 2 is actually somewhat surprising.
Well, I mean, I think Luminosity's lost Dust 2 the last 4 out of 5 times they've played it online. It's one of the maps they've really been struggling with. It's one of the reasons why they're actually automatically demoted to Mountain Dew League, is because of the fact that Envy just kind of edged them out, and, you know, unfortunately they're not doing well, just really across the board. So, yeah, Dust 2 is not going to really treat them that well. Honestly, though, eUnited, Dust 2 is probably their least played map. I think it is officially their least played map.
They've played it 1 time in 3 months.
That's it. I mean, I think Nuke's also on the low end, but all the other maps they play a fair amount. So, yeah, it is a little bit weird to see Dust 2. Maybe it's because of the roster situation. Maybe if something Finesse is bringing to the table as a leader, but yeah, it is a little bit odd to see them go to Dust 2.
Well, perhaps we start to take a look at eUnited. You talk about FNS, and I'll deliver you just that. In fact, we start to look at this entire lineup. It's going to be that of Skylar, Dapper, FNS, Moose, and Dazzle. Now, what do we know about these boys?
What we know is that it's a really chaotic situation over there, right? Like, Finesse hasn't had that much time yet to really establish maybe the type of in-game leading he wants to do. To be fair, I thought Rux did a decent enough job at least establishing like a default, giving them a foundation, being able to just kind of, you know, work default roles into mid-rounding. He had the basics down, so at least those guys are used to that. But what Finesse has really always been known for, to me, at least with CLG, was he would like to lean towards one direction of the map. He'd like to do the faster paced play. But it's like, has he had enough time to really kind of implement some of the executes he wants to run? Not only that, he doesn't even know what his full 5 is going to be going forward, right? They're still waiting on to see who Cooper's going to be coming in for. I think the only players that are technically safe are Finesse, because you just picked him up. He's your in-game leader. And then Moose, who has been by far, in a way, their most consistent performer on both LAN and online. He has been an absolute stud for them. I don't think you got to worry about that guy going anywhere unless he upgrades to a better team. So I think it really is Relic's probably the most at risk, because he's the one currently opping, when that's what Cooper's going to do for this team going forward. And then, you know, guys like Dazzle and Dapper, because honestly, outside of Moose, no one's really been a true consistent performer for this team. Dapper has been at times. Dazzle certainly looked good at Chicago, actually. I thought he looked really good there. But it just, you don't really know who's on the chopping block.
I mean, looking at Dapper, though, Dapper's been playing really well recently, and I think that Dapper maybe even is one that could be potentially safe. So yeah, you're right. I think it's really going to come down to Relics and Dazzle. Like, who's playing better at that point in time? Is it a role thing? Are they going to eliminate an Opper? Is Relics better with a rifle? Could he stay on the team as a rifler if an Opper comes in? I think so. I
mean, he has been hard done by, right? He was the one in-game leading, so obviously he did sacrifice individual level to do the better for the team, and now he's basically doing the same thing, having to take a primary opping role, something he's never had to do before in his career. He's actually not been doing too bad with it, to be honest. So I think he could slot in as a rifler when you bring Cooper in. So I think maybe it's more like Dazzle. Dapper could also still be on the chopping block, maybe.
His time with TSM, he actually did kind of take over the op role for a very short period of time, back when they were playing in the Mountain Dew League.
And I have to imagine what sort of a weird environment that's got to be, right?
Sure.
But also, I could kind of sympathize with the idea of, like, hey, yes, if you're not performing up to snuff, you should probably consider that you might be cut, right?
Yeah.
But getting there right from the break and not being able to kind of settle in is pretty unnerving, I guess.
I mean, here's the deal. Like, they do need to make changes. Like, they have definitely stagnated. They haven't really had any offline results. They've at times had really disappointing results, like at Zotac, for instance. So I definitely think that there is, they need to do something.
Well, let's do something. Let's talk about Luminosity.
I mean, this is a team that we would want to see big things from. You know, we see the roster changing around the summertime. Lucas and Henny are brought in. They've got the leadership of Steel. who is probably one of the most well-loved players in all of CS. Those post-game interviews from the major were so wonderful. And then, just, you know, they had a great second place performance at DreamHack Valencia back in the summer, and then it's all just kind of been a downward slope. And their online performances have not been any better.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, they've already been demoted to Mountain Dew League in the online Pro League space. You talked about how DreamHack Valencia is the only event recently they've done well in. That is literally the only LAN event that Luminosity has gotten out of the group stages at since Yell's been on the team. So that's going back a year and a half. Valencia is the only LAN event they got out of the groups, because it was right back to going out of groups at Montreal for this team, you know, as well as at Chicago. They were on the cusp. They were able to get a couple of cool best-of-3 wins, but they wound up losing the Mouse Sports, not making playoffs still. Also, this team is in full panic mode, by the way. I've been watching their online games recently, and Yell's now the in-game leader instead of Steel. Yell has been primary opping again instead of Henny a lot on T-sides on a lot of these maps. I'm not sure if it'll be the case on Dust 2 or not. We'll have to see. Steel has been used in a way different way than he was used before as a rifler. Dude, sometimes Henny is lurking with a rifle. He never did that. If he wasn't opping, he was always kind of an entry rifler. So I feel like they are scrambling to try to figure out internal changes they can make to get the most out of this lineup. You have to feel like, you know, a roster change is on the horizon if, you know, something doesn't go their way at an event like this, or, you know, at, you know, maybe some of the online play they're going to have coming out of this tournament.
I mean, you got to speculate a little bit, right? Like, what could those roster changes even look like?
Hey, there's bolts sitting out there if you can afford them.
Within the Brazilian scene, like, obviously things aren't working out super well for MIBR. Like, they're not working out here for Luminosity as well as they'd like to. It could be a very fun conversation to entertain down the road. Shout out YNK, the homeboy.
But then again, you have Ints, who actually did pretty well this season in Pro League compared to the other teams.
They made playoffs.
Yeah, like, who I guess you could say MRBR is struggling. Like, they didn't do so bad online, but they've done awful on LAN. There's apparently some, you know, rumors of maybe changes coming down the road. So, yeah.
So time will tell in that regard. And guess what? We could see a world beyond reach with ultra picture quality. Equipped with a wider range of colors and improved color reproduction, the Ultra Gear brings the virtual world to life with colors beyond imagination. Just like you in chat can bring your little world to life by typing in !EU or !LG to get your vote in for what team you think is going to win. You got something to say about that, Bob?
I mean, it would actually be hard for me to even pick, based on the map especially, because we haven't really seen much from eUnited on this map, which makes me think that they've been working on something. Like, this is maybe some little secret gem they've had hidden, locked away. Or it's just because, well, LG's not playing well on Dust 2. We're doing better in scrims on Dust 2. Let's just go for it.
Here's what's also interesting. I mean, these guys have played against each other, obviously, with some different lineups, against each other many times in online pro leagues, obviously in Chicago. Dust 2 has never been one of the maps they faced off on. As you've noted, eUnited, this is their least played map as a core. For Luminosity, they have not looked good on this map at all recently. Again, a pretty big losing streak, all things considered. So, yeah, it's definitely a toss-up for me when you consider eUnited's roster situation and when you consider LG's recent performances.
So when we toss it up, when we get the salad in the bowl, kind of like tossing the salad or, you know, throwing the pizza up, what do you got? Whatever, man. So when we do all this tossing, where does your prediction fall?
Do you have a quarter?
I don't.
Yeah,
do you have a quarter?
I'm in the same boat as you. This is a coin toss for me. It's really hard to actually predict. Even in my predictions coming into the event, not knowing the map, I said this could go either way.
So what's your pick?
I'll let you go first.
Tell you what, I'll go first. I think eUnited is going to take this one. Boom. That was easy. Next.
Following Trace has never wronged me before.
That's questionable, but all right.
So that's why I was just kidding. Yeah, I'm going to go with eUnited.
You know, I'm actually going to go LG. I feel like the double op setup threat that they have could actually pose to be a serious threat on Dust 2.
That's fair.
So I'm looking at, you know, I'm looking at Henny and I'm looking at Yell to maybe be kind of the X factor, because on eUnited, you don't really have that strong op. You have kind of like a mediocre op presence in Relics, but probably a better rifler. So I just feel like that's probably going to be what pushes Luminosity over the edge. I expect this to be a close game. Not a good one either. Messy, very sloppy.
I mean, it could very well be that. It could be sloppy. It could be a scrappy affair. I mean, these guys are no stranger to playing each other either. You have to take that into consideration. If you think about the regional aspect of this too, right? It's not like we're having teams from NA and EU squaring off this matchup. I mean, certainly these guys practice against one another online. Certainly they play against one another in online matches as well. So could that factor in here?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think the problem is that both these teams are on a similar trajectory. Like, they both were, like, pretty much middle-of-the-pack North American teams for the bulk of, like, the end of last year into this year. But both teams have really let off the gas pedal in recent times, particularly Luminosity. I finally had hopes in them after Valencia when they picked up Henny and Lucas. You know, obviously some good players, some experienced Brazilians. They did well at that event, but since then, it's just been really downhill across the board. And eUnited, like I said, you don't even have a full 5 lineup yet. So how can you read into them too much at this point?
Yeah, how can you know what they're going to do if they don't know what they're going to do?
Exactly.
Just like we didn't know what you were going to do in Twitch chat. So let's check out the results of that LG poll. And there you go. The Ultra Gear, well, we might as well Ultra hear what you have to say here. Luminosity is who you're giving the edge to, 60-40. Does that seem about right, guys?
I mean, I can see it. You have a lot of like big names on the LG squad who have got a ton of, you know, results across their career, probably more experience. So I would give them the slight edge in that regard.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for me is just the map. Like, it's the least played map for both of these teams, and it just makes it so hard to kind of put your thumb on what to expect. I think that you made a pretty good point with like the double op setup at least. Like, at least you know that you have like Henny and Yell, and on a map like Dust 2, double op can be very prevalent. You know, I think I have seen Moose pick up the second op a couple of times and do pretty well with it on a couple of maps. So I think they have that capability, but maybe just not to the same extent as LG does. And I think that, you know, what makes it even harder is Dust 2 is like one of those more scrappy maps, more based on spawn timings. I think it's even harder because LG, again, is swapping roles right now with all their players from what I've seen on their online play thus far. And so in eUnited, I haven't even got to see him play Dust 2, basically. So, like, what can you do at that point? I think that's why we were, you know, kind of jokingly saying, like, give us a quarter, because there's so many unknown variables here that it's really hard to, like, actually do some proper analysis and really read the game.
Well, there are multiple standpoints we could take on it, multiple viewpoints. And in fact, you can enjoy a multi-view experience with the Snipe Pass. Head over to DreamHack.com/digitalpass and pick that bad boy up so you can see all the angles, all the sides, all the rounds, all the maps of all the matches here at the DreamHack Open Atlanta. Guys, I know I've asked you straight up, yes, to give me your prediction, but also you talk about X factors. Who's one that we feel like needs to step up in this moment? Who needs to shine bright like a diamond, as I quoted the great Rihanna there?
I think Yell needs to really step up. I mean, he did have to sacrifice being the primary opper to Henny when Henny first joined the team, and that obviously put him in a really awkward spot. I think we talked about this a lot at Montreal, that it just looked like he looked out of place on his team. Like, it looked like, how can these two players coexist on this lineup together? In some maps, Yell has picked the op back up over Henny. I don't know if that's going to happen here or not, but if he does, he needs to make good use of it. Well,
you talk about coexisting. We're going to do just that. We do have the commentators we can bring in. They've been sitting over there for a few minutes. I know we've been waiting to get this knife round underway. You've got something on your collar there, Risk. What is that?
It's a nice little Hex GG pin. I like it. It's actually on the other side. Yeah. There you go.
Fantastic.
That's nice. That's not bad. Blue, oh, yeah, Blue, you've got one too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait.
Oh, you can see it now.
I was just wondering with... Oh, my God, there's one right there.
Wow, look at that.
You know, I was just wondering, you guys' shirts are buttoned up so tight. I just want to make sure you guys can breathe and everything's okay over there.
Yeah.
What do we think about this matchup, though, eUnited Luminosity?
I'm personally, I noticed we're a little bit split on the desk over there, and I think we might be the case here, because I'm personally going to go by the way of eUnited. I do think it's strange that they picked us too, considering what Dust was saying about how the map is pretty much never played. So I think that they've got something prepared for it. I think that they're ready for this matchup.
Yeah, usually I always go for EU, but in this case, I think I'm going to go for the Brazilians. It always comes down to, like, if the players, they can come up and step up to the plate, and I feel like it's the same argument as you say, like Yell, Henny, can they step up? If they can, then LG are going to grab the win. If they can, it's going to be really close, and then I don't see who's going to take it.
Well, rightfully so, guys. Anything else you're excited about over there while we wait to get this going?
I don't know. Are you
excited about Dust 2? Just excited about Dust 2. It's just like an interesting map, especially on that CT side op. Like, anything can happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing some opping on that CT side, that's for sure.
Well, you know what? That's enough of us. We'll give it to you guys. We'll get into this game. We'll get the knife round underway. Hopefully you guys will be there soon.
Hopefully. Hopefully. No one ever knows.
I hope so as well. Well, thank you very much, Dada, and we are ready to bring you our third match of the day, one of our final initial matches of the day. Here, we have this one and one more initial match for our teams here, and it's going to be two teams on relatively even footing from a ranking perspective right now.
Yeah, definitely, and two teams who are struggling a lot in a lot of different scenarios, but like the story is the same. Like, these are two teams that also, as stated in the 3 reasons, they're like both of them just really need a win now. Yeah. Both of them need something to get them going positively into the latter like months of this year, because it hasn't been going well for the last 3 years. Yes, eUnited, they make splashes when they qualified for IEM Chicago, but even then they got shut down 2-0 by Luminosity in that event after qualifying, and everyone was so hyped about them. Didn't really show much. So both of these teams in general just need to step up and show something new, and that's why I'm actually excited that they've picked us too, because that shows me that hopefully they have something up their sleeve that no one really has seen yet, something they practiced before this tournament, and we're going to see something different than what we've seen for the last 3 months, because what we've seen for the last 3 months from these two teams haven't been that impressive, maybe par from that one qualification where eUnited took it to Chicago.
And Dust 2 isn't necessarily a very commonly played map when you look at LG either, at least not when it comes to a LAN perspective. There's only one time they really brought it out in the last couple of months, and that was back in Montreal, where unfortunately they didn't have the best performance. It was actually one of the maps that would lead to their eventual group stage elimination at that event. It's been a while since we've seen Luminosity have really good performance, besides one of their more recent runs to get them to a quarterfinal. Prior to that, we really have to go back to almost Valencia to see any good placings from them, which I think also was discussed in the desk. So it's really hard to find any silver lights for Luminosity here, but at the same time, eUnited is in pretty much the same exact position that they are. So
yeah, really looking at this guy in the middle, FNS, to step up to the plate as the in-game leader, as the captain of the team, to kind of lead them into victory on Dust 2. And that's also one of the things, like, if you have a team that's very chiseled down in their map pool, they know exactly what they're doing. You bring in a new in-game leader coming into a new LAN tournament, maybe has like a couple of weeks of prac, and he says, okay, this is your map pool, and we know we have systems on all these maps that I'm not going to touch, but let's practice one map, and I can learn you my system in this one map. And if we come down in the best of one scenario, or the third map in the best of 3, we can pull this one out as our joker card. That's what I would expect for him to have planned up, because FNS is a very smart player in some regards, especially in these like veto situations and preparing. If he has that, then he's going to need to show it now, because as I said on the desk, like, both of these teams need a win here in order to just like basically not drop down to that lower bracket and fight for your life in that second game of the tournament.
At the very minimum, save them the potential frustration of having to go through multiple BO3s in a single day or something like that as well. This was really going to be the thing that they're looking to avoid mainly out of this one as well.
Oh, for sure.
And we should be jumping into that map, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that are just joining us, it is going to be Dust 2, of course, that we'll be jumping into. Map that we saw recently come back into the pool earlier this year, and has been incorporated, I think, by quite a few teams at this point.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because most teams actually like have their usual like insta-ban. Some teams don't like nukes, so they insta-ban nuke. Some teams don't like cash, so they insta-ban cash. But almost every team, there's no one that's really specializing that much in Dust 2. Yes, some teams are really good at it, but it's not like there's a lot of teams who are saying, okay, yes, let's just go straight for Dust 2. It's not a map that a lot of teams really enjoy specifically. Some have planned setups and feel decent on it, but I don't feel like there's a team that we can say is the crown champion of Dust 2 and really prefers it all the time. But when you go into a best of scenario like this, or like the third map in the best of 3, then Dust 2 can come up, because you know how to play it. You kind of feel like maybe the opposition is not as ready, and they can go into that setup. But we're just going to have to wait and see. And as I said on the desk, there's not a lot of information on this, so we're just going to have to just watch the game and pretty much see how it folds out, because there could be lots of different like pre-planned stuff here for both sides, but there's no way of knowing. Also, the coach there is sacked for Luminosity Gaming, a coach that I really have a lot of respect for. He's been in the game for a while and has an ability to kind of control these players and help them grow and help them build out strategical plans. So I'm also looking to him when the timeout comes to make the right call, because he's certainly capable of that.
Out of all the maps that were recently redone by Valve, I think it's safe to say that Dust 2 had probably the least amount of actual strat or position-based changes to the map that would change the way it was played. It's still, generally speaking, the same map as it was before, and because of that, a lot of teams are still going to bring the same strats to the board, or they do have the capability to bring those strats out at a moment's notice, which brings us into the focus that you were talking about before. But we are getting started now, as eUnited will start off on the CT side with a good nade. They do some great opening damage to Steel and Henny as well. That's not going to stop them from pushing out through the long doors regardless. They make that push happen. And now they've got themselves a little bit of a staging ground to work off, although they have also revealed their hand early on here. So we're going to see how they adjust now that eUnited is being pushed back a little bit by this presence.
This is a pretty good pistol like default setup. Also, you can use it with rifles. Just take over the early part of long control with a quick like anti-flash position, face down towards the ground as you run out, and then get one guy into pit and just leave him there. That way he'll constantly be pressuring towards his A bomb side, and the rest of the team will be like, they'll have more space to challenge in the mid, for example. They can go over to take control of the B bomb side and maybe do a mid split. That's just so nice to get one guy into that like long pit. But for now, he's going to lose the duel straight up, and that's the one thing you really cannot do when you have that long position. Don't go straight up and lose a long range duel against the USP, and don't let Dapper just push in and get a free frag.
Dapper is going to be able to pretty much just shut him down. We see Henny going to be trying to play for control downstairs here as well, at the lower portion of the vents, or excuse me, the lower portion of the halls. He's going to try to find himself a really pick up here. He's got one locked down outside of the courtyard. That's going to be Dapper getting pushed away out to the outside there. And with that kill, Dazzle also falls a second later inside of the B side too, but trying to make a push, leaving just FNS in the picture. A nice little grab from him to take the head off of Henny. That's still a 1v2, and with the bomb already being planted on the ground, it's looking like Luminosity has pretty safe harbor tucked away for themselves.
Yeah, in this 2v1, just go for the refrag. Like, place one player towards either car or tunnels and peek on contact. Pretty much how you have to do it. And they're just setting up themselves in a situation where even if it goes bad, they just lose one player, the secondary just refracts and you win the round straight up. And that's just how to play these 2v1s. And you can already now hear them like yelling. That's something that the LG guys are known for. Just having that volume on them, just yelling at their opposition when they have that momentum going, just making sure you get in the head of the other players.
As far as Brazilian squads in general, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Take a look at the entire region. Seems to be a pretty common occurrence. But this takes us into the second round with Luminosity having the gun advantage. Still good nade pressure coming in from eUnited, though. That's two players losing just under half of their health pools in the first couple seconds of the round. Neck is losing a second or a little chunk or two of his own HP there as well, but overall not impacting his capability to fight later on in the round here.
AKs and MAC-10s. One scout on Yell. It's the setup for the T side. As I said early on, a single nade and some damage being done. But otherwise, just a couple of pistols on the CT side. So at this point, they're just looking to see if they can take a couple of those weapons away, preferably get in a scenario where they could grab an AK and throw it away, or grab that AK and bring it into the next round. MAC-10 and Scout doesn't really matter that much, but if they can take an AK, that would be perfect for the CT side. That's wishful thinking at this point, because it usually doesn't go that way. Usually this is a very one-sided round for the T side when they have that 1-0 lead and can buy up into AKs. Oh, there's a gap.
Oh. Steel's just barely going to sneak by that. Little gap that was left in the smoke gets him up to the site and actually gets them the kill versus Relic, surprisingly. Despite the low HP, it seems the gun advantage was enough to net them that opening kill, and really the only kill they're going to need to get them onto the site here. FNS will be there for a trade back in mid to take down Lucas, but it's a very small gesture, and he's not even probably going to be able to use this gun that much. He's already fallen back towards T-spawn with it. And it's looking like he's going to sit here, watch for any presence outside of the long doors, but will prioritize keeping himself alive with the gun more than anything, as this round is certainly going by the way of LG.
There's a couple of small mistakes here in the round by LG, but they're going to take it anyway. Like the gap in the smoke and losing one player to a straight-up USP duel, that means that FNS is going to be able to save the AK, bring it into the next one. So not a perfect round from LG, but they're grabbing that 2-0, and that's what matters most in the end of it. But definitely room for improvement here in a round that should be very one-sided. Yes, they survive with 4 players, but they lose that AK, so not perfect yet for LG.
Now that's going to add, of course, a little bit of extra firing power to the other side for eUnited, going on to what should be one more save round. We'll see if they decide to shake things up, but I think that would be a pretty low chance of that occurring. More than likely, it's just going to be the single AK coming into it. And besides that, will be a full save from the remaining members of eUnited.
One thing we also saw there is just like a couple of words being exchanged there between our good friend, of course, Steel. We do see the buy around it. It's going to be the AUG coming in from Moose on the speed bomb side as his teammate pushes into tunnels, clearing up space all over the map. It's now a 2v3, but FNS is just locking it down on long. One frag for him so far. Dazzle taking to it. It's all on Henny. 1v3 is now a 1v2. He still has the bomb, still has time to go, but look at this flank coming in T-spawn. He's read it though, but Dapper is quicker on the trigger, and that's going to be another round. Well, the first round actually coming in for eUnited. Nice play by them, straight up taking duels against LG, showing that they're not afraid to take the control of the pace, even though they're on the CT side of this map. So very nicely done by them. Getting into the face of the opposition, just saying, yeah, you might have won the first couple of rounds, but we're not afraid of you.
Yeah, and that one AK ends up propelling them forward to buy a little bit more early here. I was saying that there was a chance they would decide to mix it up. I was surprised they went for it at the end of the day, but it ends up working out. Gets them a very scrappy fight versus LG, and they just barely come out on top of it. That's all they need right now to destabilize Luminosity, stop them from running a streak themselves, and now they can try eUnited. This is to stabilize their own economy a little bit more and start to destabilize LG. Knock them out of the game, of course, here.
Yeah, this is not a good buy from Luminosity. We see Lucas on the only deagle, basically, and head armor. And then we see Henny on a orb without any armor and only the smoke. And the only one with the full setup nade is basically Steel. But he's also in a position where he's not the in-game leader anymore, so he's going to be ready to throw all those nades. But just as that happens, like, Relics just gets a frag. There's no way that Steel in that scenario should put himself into a duel when he has all the nades pretty much for the execute. Because now the whole plan for the execute is just thrown into the gutter, and I know still he's a very intelligent player, so I think that was maybe due to something else, because usually you don't see him go out with full nade set into a straight-up 1v1 duel against an AWP. That made very little sense to me, so I'm kind of sensing that there's something that we can't really see right now. Maybe some communication or something else, because that looked very weird.
As you said, the buy from Luminosity not being good with the loss of a player this early on, it's going to severely limit their utility capability here too. Henny trying to see if he can spot the sniper in the back lane, but it's not going to be able to pick him off. Moose ends up falling down. It's not the AWP that's controlled by him though. It's Relics that actually has it in a separate position, and he's going to be able to frag out. Finds a frag from outside of the main doorway. Dapper chimes in from the back site now, finds a pick against Lucas. Luminosity are making zero progress onto this site. They've been completely dumbfounded here, and it's down to just Nekas and Henny. They're trying to work this, but time is also set against them too. Everyone, for the most part, from eUnited here, and with 2 trades from Dazzle, eUnited is going to be able to close out and tie the game up at 2-2.
Yeah, so those 2 players not able to move themselves into the bomb side, that shows us basically 2 things. So first up, in these kind of like 2v2, 2v3, 2v4 scenarios, there's no real leadership in the mid-round calling of this one. Like, where do we go, who pushes? They're just both like hoping for duels to come their way. And also, they don't have any utility to kind of clear out their positions, like a double nade in towards the back of the side, a Molotov, a flashbang. All that could have been useful, but that all went away with Steel dying early on. Moose just straight running in and getting a frag onto Lucas, but luckily it's not a big investment round, but still, it's just showing that Luminosity, they're lacking like these small things. There's all these small problems within the team, and like 90% of the round is good. Like, they're getting the entry frag into B, they're opening up, but then like the last 10% of winning the round and turning it into a positive result, that's lacking. That's not working out for them right now. Moose is just getting so much money right now. Usually what you want to do is you want to die to the AK or the AWP in this scenario when you only have pistols, not feed into that MP9. Dapper going to get one. And the AWP.
Nah, the bomb's down. Never mind. I was going to say, maybe they can sneak a plant off this one, but they've long since left the bomb behind over at top mid, so that's not going to be happening. And FNS stands guard over that. So as you said, while they do get the trade on the Dapper, it's a gun at least, goes on to Henny and an AWP at that. So at very minimum, they can try to leverage that and get a few more kills off of this one. But the round itself is pretty safely secured by eUnited at this point, unless something goes terribly wrong with the hold that they have over the bomb right now. Moose's position, though, should be in a great spot to find a 4th kill, and there it is.
He's even going to go for the 5th, but there's no one else in nearby territory. Henny's going to get a free frag onto Dazzle, so still like an expensive round nonetheless. So Luminosity can be pretty happy with it. Henny even has the chance of getting more stuff done here, maybe even finding a 2nd frag in the round, a 3rd total for Luminosity, which would be great. And if not that, save the AWP and bring it into the next one. So despite, yes, Moose getting 4 frags with the MP9 is really good for the money on the CT side, this has actually not been that safe of a round for these CTs of eUnited. They lost 2 players and gave away an AWP.
Wow. Regardless, though, it is going to be able to give eUnited the lead.
Oh, Moose. He's on the hunt, but he's not going to find him.
He's not going to see him unless he pushes all the way in, at which point Henny would hear him. So there's no way they can hunt Henny down, unfortunately. It's not aggressive enough, focused way more on defending that bomb and just winning out the round on the timer. And Henny, of course, had zero interest in pushing with the AWP being scavenged.
Definitely not. Also, like, they're in a situation where they have 3 players surviving. You want to have at least 3 surviving, 2. Your economy is going to take a hit. 3, yes, you're going to grow it a little bit. So in that situation, there's no real reason to push him. Like, the risk that you take is actually much bigger than the advantage you get, even if you get the frag. So it's it makes a lot of sense. Nekas with 1, Dazzle answering straight back with a Molotov. So 1-for-1 trade to start the round.
And he kind of locked into the corner there for a second too, but quickly finagles his way to the outside of it. And the CTs will smoke him off anyway, so would have had clean presence to back up. But he is alone in those tunnels right now. Regardless, though, it's not going to stop Luminosity from going for a very quick mid to B setup for themselves, including the bomb still back in the tunnels. The majority of players, of course, are working their way through mid, but eUnited are now set up to defend against it here. They first have to push Moose out of his position in the safe corner just below the window, and his other teammates supporting him from the other side. It's the same thing, though. Look at this. Luminosity completely locked themselves in. Dapper still trying to be careful with his own movement here too, as he's moving back into a more stable position to defend against the tunnel push as well. But the other players from eUnited haven't felt safe enough yet to move out from CT. Here comes the first push, this time through tunnel. Moose is still maintaining his position, gets caught off a little bit, and is unfortunately having his attention drawn multiple ways, but it's enough at the very minimum to hold off LG's push. They're not committing, they're focused on CT right now, it seems, as Lucas is throwing a lot of pressure in this direction. Yell is trying to push the door, but he gets picked by Relics from inside of CT somehow. So now it's down to Lucas again to make the big play, as his teammate can't go in with the bomb. that's going to leave it open for Moose to tear apart the last two players and pick up the round for eUnited.
They just get stuck, basically. Like, you can see the idea of what they wanted to do, and I have to applaud whoever comes up with that, like, basically quick mid-push with the smoke definitely towards CT, and then the smoke on the box to make sure that no one can see through. And you have the timing with two players who can hit it from that, like, B-tunnel setup, and with everyone focused on the CT side of it, that's actually a really nice strat. But they kind of halt. They stop in the middle of the round, and then you just get locked down completely. eUnited just saying, okay, yeah, we know where you are. We're just going to wait up and wait until you do something, and then we can counter that. And that's the perfect play there. Luminosity just...
They had no answer to that.
Yeah, they fall into the pit and just can't get out.
They tried to re-execute through the tunnel, but they never dealt with Moose. The Moose had a hard lock position there, and because it was, I think it was Lucas that stayed in mid, got distracted by the guys over at CT. They couldn't push Moose out of position, meaning he just ripped the two players that tried to push in through tunnel apart, and there wasn't much room to work besides that. Luminosity now on an eco, mainly with Deagles, trying to work their way in through Catwalk, but again, things aren't going too well. They're doing good damage. They're hitting single shots, but it's not enough to find kills. There is one finally from Yell. Unfortunately, it's just him and Henny alive, and now just Henny. And he's only got a P250, so he's going to go down quickly to FNS, as we do see eUnited finding yet another round.
Yeah, looking very good now, a couple of rounds in a row. Asserting dominance on the CT side. Pretty much what I think we can expect. And now timeout is being called. Not exactly sure. It could probably be Luminosity, because we see Zach having some very specific things to say to the team. Very specific fixes coming in. And he's one of these guys that will have something to say about every single little thing, because he knows the game so well, and he knows the setup, and he knows these players.
Not going to be happening this time, though, as we do very quickly get ourselves back into the round itself. We're 5-2 now, eUnited with the lead, and Luminosity finally onto another gun round, so let's see what they're able to do with it.
That's also something that's very interesting about the format that DreamHack has, is that the coach can talk, for example, in between rounds, and that's exactly what Zach does here. He has a very small fix, and he says that while the timer is running out and while the next round is starting. No reason to take a timeout. Relics, though, ready.
Unfortunately, still gets hit in the leg, but he is able to survive the encounter for now. Had a response shot as well. Looks like an outright miss. No connection on any member of Luminosity. Just Relics down at 20 HP now, backing away into CT.
And Dazzle just finding a position. And this is something that I kind of dislike. So basically, if he holds close by the door, he has a 60-40 duel and he has a lot of map control. Instead, he pushes out aggressively because he feels like, oh yeah, let's gain an advantage because Relics is taking a lot of damage. We're kind of like on the low end. We're being pushed a bit. And then he feels like he has to make the round. As long as he just holds that position and has map control and has a 60-40 duel when they push him, that's fine enough. And that's a lot of players making that mistake of just wanting too much, basically. They think, okay, now I can make the whole round happen. Well, just by holding defensively and holding the angle, making sure they have map control, you can still have an advantage. It's not a round win, but it's an advantage nonetheless.
Tapper is going to be able to be there for the trade against his now lost teammate Moose, but quickly bails out and heads to the B site instead, but could very well fall victim to what we're seeing now. Neck is also allowed to get away, and is going to be able to pull out the early CT rotations. Dapper didn't even seem to realize the hit was coming from mid. So eUnited suffering from a lack of intel right there, and they're just going to back away as they're already down to 2 players left standing. FNS and Relics at the very minimum. They have this CT smoke. Not anymore, but regardless, FNS at high HP will be able to escape into long, and we'll see both him and Relics just try to hold out by the pit and the long doors as Luminosity have finally picked up another round.
Very nicely done by Luminosity, taking that one-man low to HP in mid and then taking the duel towards long, just holding the angle. When you get that frag on the like aggressive player towards long A, you just rotate all the way around and hit that B bomb site because they're probably rotating to kind of counter that advantage you've gained on the opposite bomb site. Very nice read by Luminosity in general, just exposing the flaws in a eUnited CT setup, making it work, bringing that round number 3 on the board.
It's not looking like either these CTs are going to end up falling. We do have some presence established from Luminosity, as you can see they're just outside of the long doors, but not enough to actually push through the doors themselves and try to challenge. So both members of eUnited are going to stay alive at the end of the round, keeps some of the guns alive, and probably is going to keep a rebuy potential alive. I didn't get to look at their money before we went off camera there, but pretty sure they're in good straits. And yeah, there's the rebuy, so it's going to be double ops now actually coming out for them, as Relics and Dapper are going to pick them up.
And the AUG coming out from Moose as well, and that's the setup that a lot of teams have started to use, especially on Train. I see that a lot in the EU games. But Nekis is just countering this straight up first off with a double push with his teammate behind him. But it can be a very, very like high risk, high reward play because basically if you lose just one of the M4s and the bomb goes down, you're in a retake scenario. You're retaking with 2 ops and an AUG. That's very hard to do. So you're kind of banking on the fact that you can win the first couple of duels when the Terrors come into time to take the initial map control. And so far it's been the other way around. 2 Ts pushing down middle, taking down one of the AUGs. And now FNS in big trouble. He's taken out. And it's the 5v3. Yes, some players are low on the T side, but big advantage for Luminosity at this point.
Just the amount of angles that Luminosity can push compared to the ones that eUnited can actually hold right now is the massive advantage they're going to get through the 5v3. So Dazzle's under a massive amount of pressure, which pretty much goes without saying here. They're going to start moving their way up. No sign of a rotate. Dazzle takes the first fight he sees, but comes out on top. And the problem is at 12 HP, he won't be anywhere near ready to take a second fight. And Steel is there immediately to trade him out. We are in almost the same exact situation that we had in the last round, just with the sides of the map flip pretty much. It's down to Moose and Dapper, who are now going to have to hold off on the B site to save, as Luminosity once again have come out on top.
They can get a buy going in the next round if they want to go for the straight force. One of the players will have to go on a Desert Eagle, but it's still, like, it's possible. They can get something going, but it's such a high risk, high reward setup, the double op, especially when you go for the peek into middle. When Luminosity go for a quick presence there with double A case, that means that if you get the first one, the second player is just going to rush in your face and just take that 1v1 with a op that's kind of like scoping out and trying to change position. It's also like a good image of how Luminosity likes to play T-sides. It's very aggressive, very in your face, straight up taking duels, trading into sites and all that stuff. And it's working out this time around.
And so guys, this will take us into our next round, where now Luminosity has a great chance to shut down this lead that eUnited seemed to have going pretty strong up until the last 2 rounds, where out of nowhere Luminosity reawoke themselves, and thankfully due to their 2 runs they picked up at the beginning, they've kept this close at 4-5. It looks like we are going to end up in a pause from eUnited this time around before jumping into that round. So I think this is a good tipping point for them to try and take the pause. The match itself hasn't been really flawless for them. Even when they were winning rounds, they were still making quite a few mistakes themselves. So they are going to need to take a second to figure out exactly what those are and how to correct them.
Yeah, and this is where the coach comes into play. You see him with a notebook, and he has written down some tendencies of the opposite side and saying, okay, this is what we can apply, these small fixes, these small like 5–10% tweaks. What do we do? What can we change to kind of counter what the coach is seeing? Because you see so much more when you're in that position where you see everyone's screen. And yes, it's definitely limited to what we see in our screens with the information of all 10 players on the server, but he sees more. He can come in with those fixes, and let's see if it's going to work. If they push out aggressively towards long, 1-for-1 trade to begin with, and another 1-for-1 trade as Steel picks up FNS with the ult. So 3v3 scenario. Map control of long at the T side end of it is taken by Luminosity, but they're not allowed to push up further on. And this is where eUnited has to make a decision. Where do we want to play 2-1? Because usually you don't want to play 1-1-1 and does 2, because then you're just going to get split up. You're going to play 2-1 on either bomb side, and they're going to stack with A for now, which, backed on the information they have, is a correct call. Let's wait and see what Luminosity does, because the correct play in this scenario would be, okay, yes, we gain the advantage here. They're going to rotate and play 2 players here. Let's rotate all the way over and go into B, especially when they have a player, I think that is Yell, who's positioned all in tunnels. No one has pushed tunnels. They're probably either sitting packed in the bomb side at the end of it or just rotating away, because he's seen nothing so far. So I would imagine fake onto A and then rotate all the way and go B for Luminosity right now.
Luminosity are still remaining relatively patient, however, even throwing out some beta utility onto this A side to make it look like they're still trying to push up towards long. I think in hopes of trying to get someone from eUnited to poke on that angle and being able to take him out. But that's not what we're seeing. Yell, in the meanwhile, is going to walk straight into the B bomb site, find out that it's open, probably cause some immediate regret for the 2 players on the other side of the map, because they don't have time to rotate now. They don't have time to pull the fake anymore on this A bomb site. They've got to commit over here. The flank is going to work out. And actually, the distraction is massive as it takes out a second player too. Relics brings us down to a 1v1. And Neck is looking for the closeout, but with that shot gives away his position that he's downstairs. Relics knows how to trace him out. Now and oh, the pump-up shot from Relics shuts down the round and gives it to eUnited.
That was a round that came down to the thick of it. In the end, I just have to say in general, like the mid-round call in that situation when you have a player who's clearing out the B bomb side, he's constantly communicating in this sense, B is clear, there's nothing here. He's just going in and checking the entire side. But at that point, the 2 players are so far committed into that A push, so they can rotate back, and it's a tough one. It almost ended up working for Luminosity, but that's one of the rounds where you go back and review the demos after this tournament. That's one where you go back and say, okay, that should have been a different mid-round call there, because we definitely had a lot of advantages going the opposite side of the map of where we actually ended up committing to in the end.
So certainly a confidence boost for Relics there to close out in the 1v2. Luminosity kind of sowing their own fate there, unfortunately, by not examining the options towards B. Selling themselves short at the end of the round, but still was a good attempt. They used the B position to act as a distraction, as I was saying before, and that at least got them 2 out of 3 of those kills. Just couldn't get Relics out of his hardpoint position there behind the A site, and it was too much to deal with, unfortunately, in the 1v2 that they had at that point.
Nice shot by Relics. Up against the buy. Still gets a 1-for-1, the refrag from Henny. And in that situation, when you gain that advantage, just rotate back and hold the advantage. Play around your teammates instead of re-aggressing and going for that secondary peak. And in the end, though, it's going to work out for them. It's a 4v2 scenario. Definitely possible still for Luminosity if something crazy happens, but this should be eUnited. But no, Dazzle gets surprised. He gets jumped on by Nekis, and now there's a possibility if they get a secondary frag out to show up, but it's not going to happen. Nekis is going to be shut down. 2 players will survive, and eUnited will grab the round.
The story of distraction again from Luminosity. They keep seeing like shiny things in the distance and being drawn to it, as we saw there with the one player that was sitting below towards CT. They spend, again, it's an over-exaggerated amount of time that they spend trying to get in and find these players, and it takes so much more off the clock that it allows what we just saw there to happen, where basically players being, all right, we're just going to rotate up on Captain. They don't have any presence on site now, and then they just walk in and destroy the last 2 players. We saw that happen with the mid to B split earlier on as well. It's not an uncommon thing here for LG, unfortunately.
Luminosity down 4-7 with a hero AK setup on Steel. And 1 flash and 1 smoke on Nekis, so that could tell us a story of a very specific setup. Coming into, let's say, 50 seconds remaining, and they want to take control over some area and take a straight 1v1 duel. For now, it looks like it's going to be a B split, with Lucas making a lot of noise in mid, trying to take the attention, and then the hero AK running into B with a flash timing. That could be the play. It's a fairly standard play, but if you have a great player on it, like Steel, for example, with that AK-47, it can work. If Dapper misses that 1 shot due to a flashbang, they can get entry into this B bomb side.
Got Luminosity going to send a whole lot of their players out on the site. Dapper missing an open and shook shot would have been an He's got boost here. A near ace from him. 4 quick kills. Puts it all on his Steel now, as a 1v3 is going to be set against him.
Still with 45 seconds on the clock. This is doable. It's a 1v3, yes, but look at the amount of utility that's remaining. It's only 2 flashbangs, so Still will have straight 1v1s if he wants to go for the duel. And what we're seeing right now is that eUnited is saying, okay, we're not going to commit to a specific bomb site. What we're going to commit to now is the mid control, and then we're going to search for information. And that's what they do. Now they spot him, so now they play 1-1-1, which I wouldn't say is the best choice. Definitely not. The mid player shouldn't really challenge, and we see he's just jump spotting for information. He's just not taking a challenge. He's saying, okay, I spotted him in mid. Rotation's going to come in. Surely there's going to be one rotating to see this bomb, but it doesn't even matter, Blue, because it's just locked down in the 1v1.
Even tries to hop his way in there, but Relics is still ready to stop the shot at a moment's notice. So good stuff from eUnited. A little bit shaky considering we saw Dapper get lost in the back of the site there, even though he had it on lock seemingly, but Moose saves the day with a quick quad kill from him. And then it's just a matter of isolating. I think it was the 1v3 or 1v4 that we had set up at that point.
Nicely done, and another timeout coming in. Things are being talked over on the Luminosity side. Maybe just taking a second to breathe, and now discussion is coming in. Yell having a few words to say here to his team about the next round. What's gonna go down? What are we gonna do? What page in the strat book are we gonna hit now? And now Sack coming in with his words. That's also a pretty interesting thing, like who talks first in these kind of timeouts, because this timeout is called, we saw that by Yell talking first. That's because he has an idea of what he wants to do, so he's taking the timeout, and then Sack comes in with his feedback onto it. Sometimes the coach can take it, and then he can come in with something first. That's kind of like how you can see what kind of timeout it is. Is it the coach timeout? Is it something like small fixes? Or is it an IGL timeout where you have something very specific in mind that you want to do and you want to explain it? And in this case, it was a timeout for Yell, so now I'm expecting something explosive, a really nice setup execute. And with the 2 Molotovs and a lot of smokes and flashes, that's probably what we're going to see here towards A.
Got that big stack lined up on Cat, ready to move in at a moment's notice here as well, so they're definitely planning something. Whether it's going to happen in these early seconds of the round is yet to be seen, however, as they don't have any position from long, and they still have a lurker, Henny, way outside of the B halls as well, looking to see if he can pick anything up. And Yell is getting incredibly aggressive now with the walk-in through mid-doors, trying to see if he can maybe sneak off anyone from CT. But at the moment, no one showing face from eUnited. You've only got the 1 CT way up on top on the actual site, and of course FNS from behind the box.
Nick is in the Yell down here in mid in refrag positions, but not good enough. You want to take that duel towards CT. No chance of refragging that, only if it pushes from the B side. That's not going to be the case this time around, and now the explosive execute. Looks like it's going to go towards B, but already now 1 player on the back of the bomb side and 1 who can rotate in with a second's notice. Dapper, if he just gets a 1-for-1 or a 2-for-1 and some time. That would be perfect in this scenario. The clutch smoke comes in, and there's the push. Spray down, surely, for Dapper. 1-2, quick, easy. Third one as well. Will he get the fourth? Dapper will complete it. Quad kill for him. No problem there holding that B-bomb site.
There we go. Makes up for the last round a little bit there as we saw that whiff shot from him. But thankfully up against the Nico, it was easily dealt with by Moose. And this time, he manages the entire show and gets the quad kill himself.
That smoke coming in from his teammate, I didn't really see who it was, but that was so clutch. Because then they're basically forced in a situation where if they want to commit, they have to run through a smoke. And they try to flash time it through, which is... like, if you want to do it, that is the right way to do it. But Dapper is just so far away, so it doesn't affect him at all. And he can just take those duels easily because of that clutch smoke coming in from his teammate. The
really crummy part there for LG, unfortunately, is even if they get past Dapper and the other site defender there, is you're still not cutting. Because you didn't have any mid presence from what you lost earlier, they didn't have any smokes or anything that cut off the mid rotation. So FNS would have been there probably a second after the second player on the team fell. Nice off shot coming out here, does a whole lot of damage. In addition, however, to the trades that are now coming in from Luminosity, Henny and Lucas both finding frags. Quick rotates are now on their way to the A bot site and mid in correspondence, but Henny is still keeping these shots alive and his teammates along with it. He just found another pickup on a Dapper.
This is slowly but surely going from bad to worse for eUnited 2v4. And Henny just picking up frags left, right, and center. Picks up the AWP and takes 3 down. In this round here, Dazzle, last man standing, a ton of utility. He can flash his way in, but Henny's completely ready for that. 4 kills for him with the AWP. Takes 1 down with a deagle and 3 with the AWP in the end, and very nicely done. In a very low investment round for Luminosity that didn't have much strategically going into it either. They just pushed out long and tried to take some presence, and then they found a gun, and all of a sudden, all of these CTs tried to peek into the rifle or in the scope of the AWP, and you're just not going to do that against Henny. He's going to win those duels 9 out of 10 times.
And as you just saw from the replay, just finding shots out of absolutely nowhere in some of those circumstances too, having a really good position to play off of to catch some guys that were trying to get more aggressive, to boost themselves up or jump up onto the CT site there. So really great stuff to force the issue and brute force their way through long in general, which eventually led to a pretty easy A take. And from that point, it was just a straightforward hold that actually went out the round.
Good stuff from Luminosity there, taking a round that not many would have expected them to gain anything out of, maybe a couple of kills and some economic damage. Were to be an exchange between the teams. And is this the last round of the first half?
What happened there?
Relic's already going down to 39 HP.
He backstabbed, I guess?
Yeah, that has to be the only way.
Yeah, because of 39, right?
That's unfortunate.
Well, you hate to see it. It was FNS as well. Still playing tricks, I see. As he is going to end up inadvertently assisting to his teammates' demise there. But Dapper is going to be the one that finds the next pickup and an immediate response, of course, to bring this into a 4v4 as he aggroes a little bit on Cat there. FNS looking to recontribute too, but remember, only playing with a CZ this close up. He's going to have a much harder time finding that impact.
FNS here, sees at 75, Molotov. Not going to burn him, just plays patiently behind the smoke, as you said, and just holds that angle. But the push is now going to come towards Moose. It's going to be this B play, and there's no one here to assist him, so unless he gets this first frag, it's going to be rough times, but he gets the triple with the MP9, completely demolishes Luminosity. And now there's no chance for Henny to do anything. He's in a 1v4 with an AWP. Yes, he's a great player, but how's he going to make this happen? He has to find 4 individual 1v1 duels and win all of them with 6 seconds to go.
It's not even like there's any economy risk, but even still, Moose isn't overcommitting. They don't want to take a chance on letting this go out of control. They'll wait for the flank to show up and find its impact. Now they can push the door.
Oh no, oh no! Moose with a complete 4K with a knife in the end. What a play. MP9 spray down. And I said, like, if he gets 1 kill and some time or 2 kills straight up, that's fine. He ends up with a triple and then re-aggresses with a knife in the end. There's just no way that you can allow this for Luminosity. This should never be allowed to happen.
They're going for the emotional shutdown now, I think, is the strat. At least for Moose anyway, with some good play coming out from him. And yeah, just to finish the point, didn't overcommit after he picked up the triple kill when trying to take down Henny. They played it nice and safe. They knew what he accomplished on the round before, and they didn't want a chance of that happening again, even though he was alone at that point. So they played it extra safe just to make sure. And with that, we're able to secure themselves the final round. It should be 10-5, by the way, as our halftime score at this point, I do believe.
Yeah. So we're moving into the second half. You see both coaches there. You see kind of like their style of it. Like also random writing down notes, making sure that he has everything on point on the paper, and Zach just like trying to ignite the fire in these Luminosity players and telling them, okay, this is what we need to do. Focus on your strength. Just get them hyped in order to take this pistol round and just like roll over with the momentum. And these are also like two very specific type of coaches, where one of them very heavy on the pre-planning and just having everything locked down in the system, which is kind of hard when you have a lineup that's still like switching players in and out. And the other one, yes, very strategically sound, but also a great hype man, a great guy to just come in and get you ready for a very important round. Nice nades though onto Relics.
Some chunky damage going on to them, and 2 kills to follow it up onto both the players that were hit. Henny as well finding a quick 3rd kill now to eliminate Dazzle. There's just nothing happening here for eUnited on the pistol, unfortunately. This is all Luminosity all day, and of course all supported by that great smoke that was just outside. Unfortunately, eUnited tried to push the envelope on that smoke and paid the price quite dearly.
And then you see also like handshakes and knuckles all being exchanged. They're going to keep this momentum going. That's especially what you want to do. If you have that pistol, like you're behind, you know you have to grind all these rounds. So from now on, there has to be no mistakes. It has to be a full-on like freight train pushing in, trying to gain that advantage back. And it's going to be like that for the next like 4 or 5 rounds. Even if Luminosity wins them all in a row, Sack is still going to be hyping the players up, because you can't really, like the second that you let go of like the acceleration in this point, you're just going to lose out for the rest of the map. So you just have to keep it going constantly, keep pushing and everything. And now eUnited in an economical situation where with a full eco, they're going to be able to buy AKs in the next round. So no investment here for them, and AKs in round number 18.
Well, let's see exactly how eUnited will be able to try and put anything together on this round, considering their bye. So far, they've been able to completely overpower Henny, mainly by pure numbers alone, but sadly, I think that's all they're going to end up with on this round. And that will indeed be the case, as Steel shuts down the last 3 without too much of an issue, setting Luminosity up at 7-10 now.
Very important round coming up right now. If Luminosity can get this one to go, that means that they have the economical and the momentum of the general match going for them. They will also have the good guys over here from eUnited pressured down. No money left on the bank account after this bye, and a chance of basically tying up the game eventually if they get this one. But this is also a bonus round. Remember this for Luminosity. MP9s, UMPs, FAMASTERs. If they get a win here with this bye, that's a great sign for the rest of this half for them.
For eUnited, though, it starts out very fast. Seemingly mid to B split. Relics is going to get run down by Spam coming in from Henny through the smoke. Steel and Lucas also pick up kills from just over the top of the smoke. So unfortunately, again, eUnited's T-side strat falls completely flat from the get-go, leaving these 2 players inside of the upper tunnels with not a whole lot to work for, unfortunately. Moose and Dapper will have to use the utility. They do have to try and work their way out. Dapper's actually just taken the initiative himself by peeking directly into the site, just trying to pre-check everything. They were able to walk right in for the most part. They take a quiet strat, but don't check behind the box. Dapper failing to check behind him now leaves Moose out to dry in a 1v5 situation. Completely impossible, really, for him to clutch. They're trying to get innovative with it. Attempts to possibly sneak by the door, was maybe just taking refuge behind it there, but regardless, it does not work, and it is another flawless round from LG.
And this round is a great example of like, if you want to do that mid-push and basically end up in a mid-to-B execute, you have to have 2 smokes for that CT position. Basically, the 1 smoke in the middle, and then the secondary smoke for the top of the box. Like that position that I think it was Henny had on top of the box, she's able to spray them down to the smoke. Like, it's so crucial to have that secondary smoke laid down if you want to do that strat, especially against like this kind of a bonus buy where you're going to take chances as CT. And that's exactly what they did. And with the bonus buy, they pick up AKs, they get everything going, another, not full eco, but still an eco coming out of eUnited. Probably going to be 9-10, and that's on the back of a 5-10 scoreline when we saw halftime. Luminosity just keeping it going now, getting the momentum, getting hype, and that's where they get really dangerous, if they believe in themselves and their own abilities to end out a game, which they definitely are right now.
Some unfortunate timing, but he follows it up with a nice double kill. Maybe makes it 3. How about 4? No, unfortunately, he's going to fall flat a little bit on that one. Moose just barely is able to escape, but great turnaround from Nekas considering the pressure that was thrown against him all of a sudden. Comes out flourishing on top of that, and leaves only Moose and FNS in the fight now. Unfortunately, again, without really a leg to stand on, no utility, just deagles between the 2 of them, not even really armor to try and peek with. Just nothing, no utility here either. So this should be an easy closeout from LG, and it's looking like that's indeed going to be the case.
And now, take a look at the money on the CT side. It's 10-9, and we saw one of the players around 10K. So not only are they having the momentum advantage and like the confidence advantage of winning all these rounds and definitely also dominating them in this kind of eco-deagle buy, they also have like a big amount of money saved on the bank account. So even if they lose a round, it's going to be no problem reinvesting and even potentially getting a double-op setup going. That's not what they want to do right now since they have so many AKs they don't really need an op. But when they see Moose, for example, coming out here along with his op and he gets an opening, then you want to kind of counter that with your own op the next round.
They've only lost like 1 or 2 players in these first 4 rounds that have played out so far. So they're doing a fantastic job of just keeping their men alive through and through all these all these rounds, and with that being able to build up their money to a pretty ridiculous point for being this early on in the half.
Like plus 5K across the whole line of the team. Very nicely done. 10-9. Another important round also because there's just something like mentally about hitting like that double digit, tying up the game. Not only just 10-10, but just like making sure that, okay, now we can take control, winning these next 4 rounds in a row. We can be in the lead.
Especially since there's a 10-5 at start as well.
Exactly.
When you consider that.
United have not been able to get anything done on the C-side so far. And they had 1 buy. If they fail the second buy as well, the confidence in their strats and in their buys is just going to fall low. And then it's down to the coach to really kind of re-hype them and say, okay, guys, just believe in yourself. We can easily do this. Just focus on what we've trained so far and focus on all the strats we've run in all these scrims or packs.
This is already a massive effort from Luminosity to come back this quickly. But the fact that, again, there's just been 0 response from United at this point only sends the point home and could potentially allow for Luminosity to shoot ahead to, I would guess, 12, 13 rounds potentially. But let's see here, because United do have the chance to come back on this round, and they're going to go for a pretty straightforward execute, which will go unchallenged for the most part. The only real responses would come from long.
They're basically playing retake at this point. And I really like the setup. So you have 2 guys down towards long, because that's usually where the initial fight goes. So you want to make sure that you have the control of the initial fight. And then the rest are stacking on the B bomb side. So now it's a 5v5 retake, but they still have control along. They want to make sure that that guy cannot like backstab them basically when they're trying to rotate in. But this is very doable. They definitely have a plan for this. If else, they wouldn't be in this setup to begin with. And Steel just rushing straight in.
Finds the kill as well. Yell's going to be able to pick up a second one now from the other side. Steel will move in. He knows he's got Dapper around the corner, but it doesn't matter. Dapper holds strong for 2 kills. Won't get the 3rd, but Relics picks up the other 2, and now 3 from the other side of the site. And with that, finally closes out on a T round for eUnited.
Very nicely done by Relics. Individually stepping up to the plate, getting 3 with the AWP in the post-plan setup. It's basically set up for him on short without AWP to be the one to make the difference, and he does. He says, okay, yeah, I'm going to take that pressure to make the play and then make it Dapper also with that nice double from the Gandalf position, just making sure that he can mob up everything that goes his way, at least getting that 2-for-1 trade. But then, still, Luminosity, plenty of money to go around. Even if they lose this, they can still force buy into the next round and get something going if they want to do that. But finally, eUnited, they get something done. They get that first round going on the T side. That's a very important step to get over, to just say, okay, yes, we can actually do something on this side. We're not just getting completely run over.
Yeah, they prevent the run over from Luminosity. Now they're going to try to get a little bit, or at least for Luminosity, they're going to try to get some of their own confidence back here, but that's not going to work too well. It's a 1-for-1 exchange with Relics spotted the trade back on a neck is just a second later. Henny also took a battle there too, which is what we actually saw on the screen a second ago. But even his attempt to get aggressive didn't go so well, just ends up getting hit down to 53 HP. So overall, they've only ended up weakening their defensive setup and haven't gotten much to trade for it.
Yell has to get a 1-for-1 here at least. And he just get the first one, that's perfect. So now he can put down either a smoke or a Molotov, even a flashbang just to deter them. And Henny hitting a nice pixel shot in the middle. Can he go for the second one through the wall? No, he's not going to go for it. He's just going to sit back, play patient, and make sure that he has the position that can win his team the round. And that's the right choice in this scenario.
So momentum that seemed to be swinging a little bit into United's favor, fortunately, is not going to last very long at all. As now Yell found another quick pickup from the AWP. The AWPs in general seem to be the thing that shut down eUnited on this round, and it'll be the thing that concludes the round as well. Luminosity picking up their 10th, just 1 round away from tying it, and with the economy reset now set against eUnited, it's likely to happen.
This is exactly what I was talking about before. Like, you have so many rounds in a row, and then you finally get beaten, and then you just like counter back in, get that double up setup going, and then you completely reset the whole game. Because now they know, okay, yes, you were allowed 1 round win. Your economy is going to be completely screwed if you're eUnited now. Luminosity, they have the double up setup, full like utility kits on everyone. It's going to be an AK and a scout and then some pistols. If they can take this, it's going to be 11-11, and the economy is still going to be in the favor of Luminosity because they just allowed to get them like 1 round in eUnited and then bounce straight back with the double up.
Not a terrible start, at least for eUnited, knocking Yell out of an aggressive position and taking away 2/3 of his HP on top of that. But still, it's getting onto the site. It's going to be the real problem for eUnited here, and they are trying to throw pressure at A. Note, though, that the bomb is still incredibly far away. So if this works, it's going to be at least another 15-20 seconds before the bomb arrives at the site, and it's going to be cut off now is the other problem. They found a way in, but the bomb is still sitting outside of these long doors right now, though good spam is coming in against Neck. He has no way to know that those are hitting, unfortunately.
Lucas taken out on long. Neck is not close enough to rotate in and take the refrag. Not looking like he can grab this either. Now he's being pressured from both angles, and there's no way he's going to make this happen. Out of nothing, eUnited have made this work. Completely split up the defense of Luminosity, taking individual duels and just holding their attention on the wrong spots, basically. And now Henny in a 1v4, probably going to look to save this. eUnited are going to be really happy with this one. That was a crucial round for them to win with a low investment.
And really get away with it, too, considering that Luminosity had the cutoff at long, would have been able to potentially cut off the bomb, too, if they played that a little bit more passively, so... Yeah.
And also a round they needed to win. I say low investment because, like, numbers-wise, it's low, but it was 100% of all their money. So it was low in the sense of, in general, but in context, spending all of their cash. All the eggs in one basket, and this time around it works out for them. They're going to be on 12. Now they're going to be a bit in control of the momentum. It's back and forth right now.
The best thing that comes out of this round is the fact they win it with, assumably, depending on the result of this fight.
Oh, if FNS can get it. Oh, that's so important. That's so important.
So the really good thing is not only that they wipe the CTs off the board and force a full 5-man rebuy, but also they keep 4 of their own players alive. The problem they won the previous round was they only had 1 player left alive at the end, or they had 2 players alive, excuse me, at the end of that round, and that was primarily coming in from that was primarily because of relics that they were able to save themselves. Their money, unfortunately, wasn't in the greatest position going into the round after that, meaning they got immediately reset. This time, they're obviously going to be in a much better position now, having all 4 players standing tall at the end of the round.
12 to 10. Up on both sides, actually 3 in total in place. As early Xbox smoke goes down, but no control towards short taken. Relics is just trying to see if he can get a duel out as Henny's just aiming to the top of mid. Expecting something to happen because of this Xbox smoke. That's why he's aiming in towards that angle, because usually when that drops, you want to take control over short, and he had a slight gap in the smoke, and maybe he just knows the timing. Could fire away, but nothing happens of it so far. But that also means that T mid control is still in the hands of no one. It's a no man's land right now because the T's are not moving in either. They have 1 guy in lower tunnels and 2 guys top mid. And about a minute remaining, so Luminosity is still looking good. One problem, though, is that they lack utility due to this, like, 4-5. But when Nekis can win duels like that with a UMP, it doesn't matter. Flashes it off and still holds down this map control. So not only are they now 5v4, he's still alive, rotating into help towards B. And now the choice has to be made for Luminosity. Where do they want to stack? They get 1 frag towards B. I think this should be the rotation where they rotate 1 from the B side towards A, or at least towards mid. But they decide to push it. That's another good way of doing it. Just securing map control on the opposite side of the map. Making sure that, okay, if they're going to hit A, we're going to be ready to retake in a few seconds.
Quick smokes being deployed here by eUnited to let them out, including the CT smoke. Yell, however, will still cause problems for the eUnited rosters. They try to move in, and it brought them down. Only 2 still standing. Yell tries to pick off 1 more. We won't see that, but we will see this player finally jump out and get into the fight. Dapper with 1 more trade, but he is left alone afterwards, and it's a quick shutdown from Lucas to end the round for LG. Keep them in the match and stop, once again, eUnited from running away with any type of lead here. Only single individual rounds being picked up on their T side so far.
Luminosity just saying, okay, we're in a tough scenario. We're going to hope to go for the direct 1v1s and win them with the weaponry because we don't have the utility. And that's exactly what they do. Even though, like, they have a UMP 45 versus an AK 1v1 duel, they still win that. Just amazing for them that they can just be in a scenario where they're at a disadvantage and still can bring out the duels. That's such a nice thing going in confidence-wise in the, like, ending part of this Dust 2 game, that you know that you can take those duels and win them. This is going to force eUnited into a very strange round. It's a couple of pistols, but Dazzler's on 1300, Yell and his teammate ready to lock down long.
They just move right out. There's no real trickery type of strat from eUnited here. We do see 1 trade picked up by Moose, but the only other player coming in through the A doors. Also immediately cut off here. The op shot, I think, actually connects, and he just has to switch over to the pistol to finish things off. But Yell will indeed shut it down for LG as they pick up yet another round and yet another A attempt. We're looking at like 4 or 5 in a row here from eUnited. Yep. Unfortunately, falls flat. I'm
looking at Moose right now because his economy, I'm not sure if he has enough money to go for M4 plus utility. I think he has to go for MP9 utility or something else, not MP9 obviously, since he's on the T side. And I think he got an AK dropped and then FNS takes the Mac 10, and that has to be the way it goes. Some utility still on the T side, and I would say drop an AK for one of your better performing players is a correct choice in this scenario. FNS, the in-game leader, taking the hit there, saying, okay, yeah, that's not a big of a problem. You just get the entry, and I'll take the Mac 10.
United still really only focusing on mid, though, not trying to pay too much attention to Cat, which has allowed for the aggression that we're seeing now. Relic still comes out on top of the initial fight that's taken very low, though, and it's almost a double from Miel, in fact, but he falls short when taking the second shot on Dapper. Letting the trade go out once again and keeping eUnited at an advantage 4 versus 3, but it's a delicate one with FNS just taking a lot of damage from his previous fight in the upper B tunnels, too.
3v4. And 2 smokes remaining on the T side. Only 1 on the CT side and no Molotovs on CT either. So once again, Luminosity find themselves in a scenario where they are relying on winning duels and staying together. In this scenario, they're going for the A stack together. And eUnited are reading that, just completely going for, okay, where have we spotted activity from the CT side? We're going to go the opposite way of that. And that's going for the split B, which this round is the perfect choice.
Yeah, it's going to work out great for them. As long as no one is lost going into the site, like as long as FNS doesn't get picked off, this should be an immediate save call, I would almost say, from Luminosity, just because they're so far away from it, and unfortunately they don't have the utility to get back into the site.
Also because 2 players on the CT side, Nekis and Lucas, is sitting around $1,200, so it would be very hard for them to get a full utility kit and an M4 going into the next round, so saving here is the optimal choice. You can see Nekis, he wants to kind of go for these exits, but he's getting comms that, okay, just hold back. If we can save this, we get a good buy in the next round, and we get a better chance then that we have now of winning this 3v4. And nicely called by Luminosity, but also good read by eUnited, saying, okay, what information do we have, and then play the round off of that. And that's exactly what they do here.
Not only that, but it's a pretty safe bet going to be at that point, considering, like I said before, they played the last, like, 5 or so rounds now have just been A takes. So Luminosity, I think, has been lulled into a safe sense of security when it came to the B-bomb site and could afford to leave it alone for, all right, they get away with this one, but now Luminosity will just go back to playing the site more standard and won't be taking those risks, I don't think. Or at least will be much less inclined to take those risks now that they know eUnited actually wants to play that site.
Yeah. There's an opportunity of getting at least one up on the CT side if they want to go for a kind of a wonky utility setup on one or more of the players. But let's wait and see what they go and choose for this one. There's definitely being communication going back and forth, and it's going to be the double op setup, so definitely a lot of money going around. Actually, a bit more than I thought. The lost bonus, of course, always doing math live on stream is always hard. Yell also having a very hard time here, being pressured from 2 different angles. Can't lock the frag down, but luckily Lucas is there, but he's instantly refragged. And frag's going left, right, and center for the T side, and they're taking over long very confidently. Only Steel and Henry remaining. And the 2v4 with 1 op trying to retake. The bomb is not planted yet, of course, but like already now, this seems very hard for Luminosity.
It's going to be about 20 seconds till that plan happens. I can tell you right now, because all eUnited's doing is just sitting back, making sure there was no other presence on the site that wanted to poke its way out. They're actually taking a lot longer than I would have thought to try and venture up from the pit and just check the site. Because obviously Luminosity's in the same exact position where they just want to hold their current ground, see if eUnited wants to execute with a lurker or something towards B. At the very minimum, they can get that kill and try to bring it to a 3v2, and then working from there. But neither team wants to move an inch right now. They are completely frozen solid.
They also know like how important of a round this is. If you look at the economy of both teams, like you're not going to be completely pressured down to a full eco, but there's definitely like problems in both camps right now, and it's so close to the end. Relic to really win the duel, no, it's going to be still locking that one down. And now, as you said, it's a 2v3. We know we spotted someone on the B bomb side. Okay, they're moving on the other end of the map. We see the smoke coming down. It's definitely going to be the A side. So this is the call. Are they going to go for it? Almost a free frag for Henny. There's a gap in the smoke, but he's not going to land the shot. If he got that shot, they would definitely go for this and go full on, but they're still committing. It's still going in, even though it's a 2v3.
Got to try to make a bid for this at minimum since they've been able to get steals so far to the inside. The problem is going to be long. There's still Dapper sat in pit with no contest that's ever going to be set against him. So anybody that moves out from down below here is immediately going to get picked by Dapper.
And they don't have a smoke on the CT side either, so they can't smoke him off. This is a very hard 2v3 retake.
They've got to try to boost, and I think that's what they're doing now, or at least go out together. Here's the boost up. It's going to be Steel on top of it, but unfortunately he's immediately found, unsurprising really, by Moose. And probably, if not by him, then the other player that was sat on top. Nice adjustment from Henny, which we've come to expect from him at this point, but it's going to mean very little in the grand scheme of things. Nearly every player in that round goes down. Dapper just barely survives the explosion with 5 HP, but the round, most importantly, will go over to eUnited.
And this is the pressure now hitting Luminosity. This is where they've had troubles before when things are not going their way. They're really like with their back against the wall. What can we do? We need a play. We need a big play, someone to step up. And we haven't really seen that. That's been one of their problems in a lot of these matchups where they're facing off against teams around their same level. And this is where the leadership now comes into play. Okay, what's the plan? What can we do here? What's essentially realistic for us to go and grab this round and get something back in our favor? Because if they let this one slip, this next buy round, I'm not sure if it's going to be this one, if it's going to be Force, if it's going to be Pistols, and then the next buy round after. But whatever next buy that comes in for Luminosity is basically going to decide this map and match, because it's the best of one.
All right, guys.
It's going to be the Force buy. Wow.
Let's see how exactly Luminosity will decide to play this out with a Force buy now. They are getting quite aggressive on long once again, but it doesn't matter. The flash won't connect onto Moose from the initial hit. So he'll find a nice pick onto Henny, taking him down. The op not in his control, though. It's currently in Yell's hands instead. They might still have a chance to work with it after all here, as now they're trying to just hold off the remaining push from long. It's scrappy, it's 1-for-1, and that only really favors eUnited to further their agenda now, as they've just brought it down from a 5v4 to a 4v3. And in addition to that, done more damage to Lucas.
Pretty standard mid-round call as well here. Okay, we show presence towards long, we get some damage done, we make them scared over there, and now we're gonna go the opposite end of the map, smoke down CT. One player going to CT, just hold the lurk position, and the rest just push in. Unless Yell gets like a flurry of frags here, it's gonna be game over, but he's still alive here. He's gotten one. Smoke goes down, they're gonna go the other way, because they can't cross Yell at this point.
They can't go mid either, though, because there's a two-man setup here. At the very minimum, they're going to have to brute force their way past it. The smoke goes to the inside.
So much noise.
Oh, and this is all going to be hurt. Oh, even a little bit of a boost up. Steel's only able to catch one, but most importantly, look, the bomb got dropped just down below. Dapper realizes the nade goes in, and what? Yell kills Steel, and in addition finds Dapper in the process. A worthy sacrifice, possibly, as now it's down to a 1v1, but it's Luminosity and Yell, more importantly, that comes out on top of it at the end of the round.
I want to see those last 20 seconds from Yell's perspective. That looked absolutely insane. Not only does he kill a teammate, but also get someone through the door or something. Let's have a look here. So if, oh no, that is insane. Of course, like, he has to go for that shot. Like, he sees the reaction of someone dropping down. Unfortunate that he get his teammate, but in the end, he's closing out the round. He's winning it for his team, so can't really blame him. And now they're taking a pause. Just okay, that was a very sketchy round. Let's just get the tempo slowed down a little bit. Just let's refocus, because that could just rattle a lot of players just having such a close round.
As I said, a worthy sacrifice.
Yeah,
needed to throw him into the fire there in order to guarantee the kill and then eventually bring it down to a 1v1. I think it was Relics once again from eUnited side that almost ends up clutching it out there as well. So we once again see him put up to the plate, but this time he falls short in that final 1v1, and it's instead Yell that wins it for Luminosity, keeping them in the match, and again, destabilizing eUnited's economy, as you can see.
Exactly. And this is why that round was so important. If they lose that, the game is over. If they win it, they have a second chance, because they're pushing down the economy of eUnited, and if they had wanted with more players alive, they would have gotten a great buy here. Now we have Henny on the shotgun and Lucas on the deagle, so it's not the best of buys. But still, they have a second chance to fight.
It's 2 rounds in a row now that it's been brought down to a 1vx, and Lucas walking right through, steals a kill out of the hands of eUnited. The problem is overstays his welcome and is taken down just as quickly by Dapper.
Dapper now picking up the MAC-10, throwing it around. The shotgun here from Henny, that's not going to work out, mate. Close range only.
Wow, you say that, but I've witnessed the man get nova'd from T-steps on Mirage from Ticket, so you never know. You know, always take those chances when they show up.
Shotguns, man, they don't make a lot of sense. Yeah. Usually.
Yeah, you know, 9 times out of 10.
Usually close quarter combat only, but you never know. CS and physics in general in this game is questionable to say the least.
Sometimes a stray pellet from those shells just works its way right to the head of your opponent, and then you never know what's going to happen from that point.
Mid control being taken on the T side, and now slowly but surely moving out. They don't have a secondary smoke if they want to go for the double smoke setup in mid, so they're just going to walk straight out and put it all in one chance. Relics, can he open up? No, Steel in the back of it, but instant refract from Moose. The shotgun once again coming into play, but it's not going to work out. It's the 3v2 post-ban scenario. The bomb is going to go down now. Nekus and Yell to retake.
And not only this, but they have Dapper right in between the two players that are trying to retake here from the outside of CT Ticket. So, or excuse me, from Ticket, I'm thinking of Mirage now. From the outside of the mid doors, as we are going to see Dapper hold the angle. Won't try to go for any type of push just yet, but Yell is certainly watching for this and is leaving room open so that Nekus can focus on the push in through window instead. Yell is going to have to help out with the main retake, though, and that's the problem. The attention's split. They don't know if mid is secure or not, and they find out in probably the worst way possible. Dapper does push right through, picks the last kill to MAC-10, and puts eUnited on map point now.
that's such a tilting thing for Yell as well, because he's been watching that angle for like 10 seconds, and then, okay, his teammate dies, he has to rotate away, and then all of a sudden, like, there's a MAC-10 straight in his face taking him out while he has his knife out. That's unfortunate to say the least. 15-13, weapons being shot around.
Look at LG's economy.
Yeah, exactly.
They are done.
That's the problem. They need magic now.
They got armor and deagle. That's it. Nothing else to play off of here. They are going to try to get crazy with it, too, with the 3-man setup that they currently have on Cat.
But then again, Blue, what other weapon for a magic round would you have than a deagle?
CZ.
See, that's just boring. That's a boring answer.
I don't know. Just trying to be realistic.
Yeah. I don't think realistic can help them right now, to be honest. They need some legendary moments to come out now with the deagles, but we've seen Brazilian players do crazy things with that pistol, so potentially we have a chance of seeing something this time around as well.
Well, it's going to go all quiet, I think, for at least another 5 to 10 seconds here. Neither team wanting to make the first move, but unfortunately for eUnited, the game is going to force them to make that move relatively soon, as they've just gone under the 1-minute mark on the timer. And it is looking like that play will be made towards long again, from the way the players are moving about the map right now. Obviously, it took a while for them to make this decision, but it's going to be the best course of action for them. As, again, like I said, Luminosity hasn't made a single move themselves. They destack from the 3 players on Cat. 2 of them are pushing now, but they had to move Yell back to have someone watching for long, but it's just him. Besides this, no one else has any presence on the A site. He's already taken some damage too, with none being returned. Tries to ditch out down below, but fails in that, opening up a plant opportunity now for Dapper after he gets the kill.
Lucas with 1 as well, but instantly refragged by FNS and his kill. 4v3 post-plan scenario. Still with the C-set trying to make some magic happen, but the gods are not with him on that one. And still just a tough scenario. Has to wait for his teammates on short and long and has to stay alive in this position, basically. But there's not a lot of time, and Henny missing a very, very hard to hit deagle shot. Going for the second one, not winning that. Surely it's done and dusted. Neck is all alone.
Neck is going to try to move in, but there's nothing that can be done. Dapper shuts him down. It's eUnited, ladies and gentlemen, that'll take their opening match here at the DreamHack Open Atlanta and push themselves forward to the upper bracket. For their opponents, unfortunately, it does mean a start in the lower bracket, but of course, they are not out yet. They still have a chance for redemption tomorrow in their best-of-3 openers.
Yeah, there are definitely some high points for Luminosity, to say the least. Like, a couple of their rounds looked really, really smart in the way that they played, and individual high points for them with their rifles and also the ops there. But eUnited just looking like a bit more of a solid unit in general, so they take the win here.
Yeah, it's just kind of a really scrappy map overall, though, to be completely honest, for both of the teams. We saw kind of messy moments across the board there. So eUnited kind of have to take a look at themselves, too, but they really cleaned it up towards the end, and that was the main reason, I think, at the end of the day, why they were able to close out the match.
All right, good win there for eUnited. Always go with EU, as I say.
Yeah.
And eUnited will grab another win here and go straight into the winners game, which is going to be pretty interesting. With 2 best-of-1 wins, you can go straight to the playoffs here at DreamHack Open. That's how the format works.
And so they're going to have their chance to push through nice and easy later on today. Of course, we're going to see, I think, one other match before that ends up happening too. And of course, we still have the last additional match, which will be coming up directly after this too. Is we're going to be having Hugo and Harry jump on to replace us now as well. So we're done for the day.
The B stream team.
Yeah.
Always fun with those guys. But yeah, we're of course still waiting. I'm not sure if the analyst desk is ready. Potentially they are. We're not exactly sure. Maybe they are. Yeah, it looks like they are. Okay, there we go, guys. What do you think of that scrappy match?
Yeah, I think it was a very back and forth affair. I also think, yeah, that's about where I'm going to end off on that one. Thanks to those guys. They're done for the day. Hope they get to go to the aquarium, maybe even some of the other museums that Atlanta has to offer. Perhaps even Chick-fil-A, like I just had for lunch. Fantastic.
Doesn't that aquarium have one of the largest saltwater tanks in the world?
Might be.
I'm pretty sure.
Be collecting.
That's a fun statistic you could use for one of your intros. You have to Google that.
That saltwater tank might be used to collect all the tears of Luminosity fans around the world who had to endure that, who did just catch an L alongside of the team there, eUnited prevailing and coming out in first in this bout at least. So let's begin to talk a little bit about this one, guys.
Yeah, I mean, pretty dominant first half from eUnited on the CT side. I mean, there was so many rounds on this B-bomb site where Dapper or Moose would just get some multi-frag spray down. It seemed like Luminosity really struggled to get much going. In fact, if they hadn't won pistol round, they probably wouldn't have had much of T side at all. CT side, a little bit different. They, again, got a really hot start because they won both pistols this game, and they were able to roll that into a 4-0 lead, so that really helped them kind of climb back into the game a bit. But then that's where it got really scrappy the last 8 or so rounds of the game. Never really got an economy going for Luminosity. Luminosity, got reset multiple times. It just felt like in those key rounds, those last 7 to 8 rounds of the game, eUnited were just able to kind of grind them out.
I just kind of feel like the real kryptonite here was FNS. Like, he was the guy that was bringing it forward. I mean, it's also interesting to see him go to this lineup and then continue to play with a new set of teammates. But I mean, you can't not make a case for this guy having some sort of leadership mentality.
Well, we were talking about it coming into this series, right? We weren't really sure what to expect from either team because Dust 2 is not a commonly played map across both teams. And we kind of thought it was going to just kind of de-evolve into an aim battle, and I kind of feel like that's what happened to a certain degree. Like, you look at some of the top performers, it was Henny, who we talked about would be a top performer, and then Moose and Dapper from the opposite side also played really well. And you just look at the highlights even, that kind of tells that story. It's like 3Ks, 4Ks. It wasn't really necessarily the smoothest, cleanest Counter-Strike we've seen today.
No, not at all. And I mean, another thing to really point out is, like, Lucas is normally one of the guys on this particular team you kind of expect to be one of those guys putting up big numbers next to his brother Henny, and then maybe Yell now that he's trying to get back into opping. But unfortunately, you know, it just hasn't worked out for him in this game, and I feel like him being missing, especially in a game that's close, especially in some of these rounds that were kind of back and forth towards the end of the game, like that's where you really needed someone like that to be able to deliver, and unfortunately, he wasn't up to the task today. Well,
Mr. Skylar Weaver will be the one that joins us. He is the interviewee from, I would be eUnited. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
You guys have stopped Luminosity early on here, which obviously setting you guys up for a much easier path into the playoffs. You got one more best of one at least. But let's begin to focus on this conversation, guys.
Yeah, sure. So obviously you guys have guaranteed brought in Finesse as kind of the in-game leader of the team. You know, you were obviously formerly taking up that role, and I thought you were doing, you know, pretty well. It seemed like you guys had like some fundamentals down. At least we're kind of in the right direction. What do you think Finesse has been able to bring to the team thus far to kind of maybe add another layer to your structure?
I think the difference between me kind of becoming an IGL and just doing it out of necessity rather than him being a natural born in-game leader is he understands how to implement structure and to kind of call people out for like mistakes and not let people just pretend that they're not accountable for things. So I think really he's held everybody to a higher standard and made sure that people are focusing on the smaller mistakes and you know, making a conscious effort to improve them type of thing.
So in line with this really quick, I know that you've obviously had to take up the primary AWP duties, which is something you've only maybe briefly done in the past. How has this transition been for you?
It's been good. I mean, I've been watching a lot of demos, and it's been kind of, we're playing catch-up on both fronts. You know, a brand new IGL, we have to start over on all the different maps, and then me transitioning into another role, and other people, not just me and FNS, switching roles around. So, you know, Dazzle's playing some new spots, and maybe Dapper moved around, stuff like that. We're just kind of working really hard on all fronts to try and put everything together and make sure the pieces fit.
Now, talking about FNS, is that part of the reason why you guys felt comfortable going to Dust 2, which used to be one of your permabans, like a map you guys almost never played?
Partially, he was really adamant about us putting into our map pool, especially because the map has been in the map pool for so long and it's relatively unchanged that it's a really easy map to sort of get some fundamentals on and be able to play compared to something like Nuke. Or, you know, maybe Overpass, although we are playing that also. So he really kind of pushed it forward because some people just didn't want to play it on the old team, but they sort of swallowed their pride and they're getting used to it.
So another question I think is like the looming one that I just have to ask, and I mean, you're more than welcome to avoid it if you need to, but we know that Cooper has been signed to this team, and we know that, I mean, he didn't get signed for no reason. So what has this kind of had an influence on the environment of the team?
Some people might think it may have a negative influence, but contrary to that belief, I think it's had a slightly positive influence. I can't really go into a lot of details, but
fair enough.
Moose he did an interview in Chicago where he stated that all players were on trial, everybody needs to be putting forth 110% effort, and then when it comes time to bring him into the roster, whoever the team deems is not giving the equivalent effort as their teammates or just doesn't want it as bad or you know, maybe is making the same mistakes over and over, you know, that's who's gonna get the boot.
Well, the last question after you, this is Relix. Thank you, first of all, for taking all of our questions. I'm going to have to ask you straight away. I mean, you guys have made a showing there and really put your names on the map in Chicago. I think that was certainly the sentiment that I got out of it, at least. What are you seeing as the next thing for your team? What are you seeing as the next thing for eUnited?
We just narrowly missed out on the Pro League LAN, but next season we'll be in both ECS and EPL. I think the next biggest thing on the horizon is probably the minor, and obviously continuing that whole path to the major. And other than that, just continue playing in these online qualifiers, trying to make it to as many events as we can, and you know, to keep improving, keep progressing.
Well, cool, man. We're gonna let you progress on with your day, and in fact, probably catch up with your team. Thank you for taking the time, and congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
Cool. So, closing thoughts, guys?
I mean, it was kind of sloppy, but I like that they've added the map to the map pool, because looking at this team historically, the map pool has always been somewhat shallow. It's getting bigger. That's good. That's what you expect to see when you bring in a new in-game leader, is expansion and change. And I think that bodes well for eUnited moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing that bodes well for United going forward is the fact that Moose continues to be a strong player for this team. Like, that's like the one reliable piece that they do have. I think it's just about finding some consistency in some of their other players. I think Dapper had a great game here, and he's usually been pretty good, and he plays a really difficult role for the team. So, and he's also probably one of the youngest players on the team. So, again, like, we're still following the story of who is United really going to be, you know, a couple of weeks from now, maybe even when Cooper does come on board. I think that that's certainly what we're all going to be kind of anticipating.
Well, you can anticipate this, Dust. You ready for it?
Yeah, tell me.
The new A50 Plus base station, brought to you by Astro. That's right, one of the proud sponsors of this here DreamHack Atlanta. 5 gigahertz of ultra-low latency wireless, 7.1 Dolby headphone surround sound, and we're going to top it off with a spicy 15-plus hour battery life. Can you believe it?
Sounds awesome.
I can't believe it.
I got real hyped there on the end of that. But look, the point is, Astro, thank you very much for your support. You guys are definitely in the front running of making that all happen. So, we've got another matchup, another BO1 coming your way. In fact, one of the last openers of the day. It's going to be the likes of Fragsters versus Rogue. And you want to be here with us when we come back.